It takes me like a half hour to find it. I know I have it somewhere here. Is it under? It's under privacy. Where do I find privacy? It takes me like a half hour.
Ooh, I don't know.
Oh, hold on. I think. Hold on. I'll find it under.
We up?
It's under privacy. Where do I find it? Great. Let me. I'm just gonna do it and then.
Yeah, we like to try to stay on the right side of Facebook and all the other streamers out there. All right, we're in the green room, Don.
We are indeed.
All right, great. So listen, what a week. Welcome to the green room. Ruta's getting all her phone stuff together.
Yeah,
Listen,
my phone stuff together.
so what a week. No, it is. Listen, I'm going to start this way. So in the clinic, everybody, and I think I made this up, Ruta, although maybe other people are doing it too. I call it mask in hand. What mask in hand means is that I keep it with me out of respect for those patients that want to continue to practice the social distancing and masking.
Yeah.
It kind of takes us all the way back to the beginning of the pandemic days. And boy, doesn't that seem like ages ago?
Years ago.
And it's, how the news cycle goes. And,
it's crazy.
we have so much to talk about today.
But
Brave people of
miraculously-
Ukraine. But anyway, we move
away.
to the next phase. So the point is, we're still very respectful of those.
Of course, who are immunocompromised cancer patients.
And patients will need to continue to come into the clinic.
Yeah.
We're going to get into the legislative side of Florida later in the show because we have to start the more important part, which is, of course, our global struggle for freedom, our Ukrainian,
Okay, for those who are
brothers,
listening,
let's go.
Okay, first of all, there's a repulsive story going on right now in Sarasota County.
Yeah, let's get it out of the way quick before we.
Okay, there's the Sarasota County Commissioners have given a grant to a group called Rumble. Rumble is a Russian propaganda machine. It's one-sided and all they do is Russian Putin propaganda, and our county commissioners gave them an $825,000 grant.
We got to pay attention.
We need to pay attention. The next county commissioner meeting, I am asking everybody to come out and voice your opinion against our tax dollars going to Russian propaganda.
Yeah, what's that about?
This is an outrage, And Kathy Antunes, thank you so much for bringing this to the attention in the forefront and getting the story out. And we will be talking about this in the next couple of weeks because it's absurd.
It is absurd. And I think what it points out is that, the brave Ukrainians, and I mean it, top to bottom, old, young, it's incredible.
What spirit?
Just the pictures of them carrying the elderly across the river on the rickety planks that they had to set up, everybody, because they had to destroy the bridge themselves to keep it so that the tanks couldn't get into that part of the city, right? But literally, you see the old woolen coats and the babushkas. I mean, it looks literally like 1942.
I was just telling Don, I posted on my Facebook page, and those who want to join my page, it's Ruta Jouniari. You can just hop on and take a look. It was a very chilling picture yesterday. Somebody posted the trains of 1941 with the people getting herded on. A lot were the Jews that were going into the camps. And there was a picture yesterday. They just made it black and white. It looked exactly the same from 1941 to Kyiv in 2022. This in the butchery and the slaughter.
It's unbelievable.
Is disgusting.
No, I mean,
yesterday,
maternity hospitals,
hospital, the genocide, the utter Soviet mindset of slaughtering and human rights and human life means nothing. It's disgusting.
So I speak to it in the clinic every day, and just listen, it is the green room. So we always do kind of bring it back into the cannabis space just a touch, but I liken it to being a 2022 doctor in 2022 and not being the same doctor that I was, as you know, we've talked about it, as when I started in 1982. That was the world of the narcotic, of alcohol, of Ativan, of everything else. It is still here, but the obligation of the 2022 doctor is to learn in his 40 years experience. I'm going to bring him back to Putin here in a second. Putin is living in the world of 1982, and in fact,
56.
in the world of 1942.
I was going to say 42, 56 when the Soviets.
So if I would have started my medical career in 1982, practicing the same type of medicine as a doctor that they were practicing in 1942, That's how absurd it is to be practicing in 2022 like a 1982 doctor without learning. My point about Putin is operating in the world of 1982, where the world wasn't interconnected, right? Where you couldn't be a tailor.
He's in the Soviet mindset.
But the point is, even though the people of Russia have lived under his thumb, his oppressive thumb, if you're a tailor or a butcher in Moscow, you could have had a European, clientele, and credit cards work, and their trade was back and forth 4 weeks ago. So he's destroyed his people, not in the war crime way that he's destroying, Ukraine by genocide. But his people, and it is genocide. Listen, we got to talk no-fly zones. Yeah. And I'm going to bring my sister into the fray here. So my sister did our research. Our great-grandmother was, as we found out now, from Lviv, which used to be Lemberg. So we feel, and my sister goes, very deep into this type of stuff. But she does believe that we do need that no-fly zone at this point.
We all do.
Stop.
We all do. It's not her.
To stop. I got it. Well,
NATO and European.
I got it. To literally stop the genocide, of what's going on there, because it is genocide. And we have to equate it to what we saw back in the days of the Holocaust, literally.
And so to take that stand, and Aleppo, and Georgia, and Uzbekistan. Putin's been doing this for decades. It's not new.
So to make that stand at this point and to call Putin's bluff, and everybody's fearful. Listen, I've told my patients over the last couple of weeks, everybody, and it's another addition into why cannabis is appropriate in 2022. I haven't heard the term nuclear war, in 20 some years. Hang on. And I don't want to hear it again for another 20 some years. And we all want it to always go away for eternity. But with Putin having his wherever, and we know he's a maniac. We know he's insane. We have to hope there's some checks and balances on their nukes over there, because there's no limited nuclear war, and that's the fear. That's what's stopping people.
No, well, Russia actually has the most nuclear heads in the planet. That's a fact.
They do.
They have the most. So if they launch, they can literally obliterate the planet.
But it is the genocide that's going on over there. That, as you say, everybody wants to no-fly, but it's not that easy.
The thing is, it is and it isn't. They've already shipped in, and it becomes like, to me, it's already ridiculous, because they sent in the anti-defense missiles. They sent in some tanks. What's the difference to do it to air, to stop the air? Because the problem is the Ukrainians can take the ground. They can't take the air. So give them the no-fly zone, or give them the MiGs. And here's the problem. Yesterday, the United States said, let's not move it through NATO. You can put it in Poland, but don't go to Germany to fly the MiGs out. Come on.
Well, it's those subtleties.
And you know what? It's bullshit. It's, excuse my language, but it is.
Oh, no.
I get mad because the thing is, it's come on. And the thing is, all of these stupid ass politicians who I've truly grown to hate. I've truly grown to hate politicians. Sit there day after day in their lofty towers here, and they sit there and they say, never again, never again, never again, never again. Okay, well, we saw what happened in Nazi Germany. We saw it in Syria. We see it in Palestine. We see it now in the Ukraine.
2 million people displaced.
2 million people displaced, and nobody knows the true count of how many dead. And never, we stand here, never again. And Putin's like, ha ha ha! Look, I can do whatever I want, and the planet is bowing to me. And it's despicable that one crazy ruler can do this to an entire planet. I find it insane that the fear that everyone's like Third World War. What is it now? What are you defending? If you don't stand up for something now, when will you stand up? I mean, this is the thing. This is the mindset where people were like, how did these people do it in Germany? How did no one speak out against the genocide? How did nobody speak out about this? We're doing it. Here we are in 2022. in our generation that we saw our parents go through this, we're sitting here and we're still seeing the genocide and saying, you know what? It's not our problem. It's not our fight. You know what? Let's not do this. They're doing it again. And here we are. Never forget, never forget, never forget. And we're forgetting. And it's despicable.
I think there's going to be a spark in the next week or a couple of weeks. It's almost like Putin, wants to draw the West in, and we'll see if that's, via.
He's challenging.
He is. He's challenging us. And it's like any bully, I think, at a certain point.
It's a big bully. He's going to see how much he can fight, how much he can fight until somebody actually punches him in the face. I wish more than that. But.
Well, listen, unfortunately, that's what we're fighting for, everybody, too, is democracy. And listen, let's just get into a couple of the positives. Yeah. Zoya's mom did arrive.
So I don't know, for those who watched last week, to get you up, Zoya's from the Ukraine, and her mom fled, her 70-year-old mom, and it took a few phone calls and a great team of friends of mine, and they got to move Zoya's mom out through Moldova, through Romania, through Slovakia, into Poland, where she stayed at Kasia Harding. Thank you very much for giving us your
takes
friend.
A village,
it
man.
Takes a village.
Takes a worldwide
and
village.
Meeting her at the border and picking her up and giving her shelter and food and clothing for 2 days, and then putting her on the plane from Warsaw to get to Miami. And now Zoya's mom is here, so that's a phenomenal.
That's the
story.
positive.
It's a positive,
right? For sure. But somebody left behind, and we're doing things here, Ruta.
Oh, so yesterday we sent out an email, and
because I got to get to the Florida legislature.
Yeah, and then the rest will be the legislator. And we'll get back to this one too at the very end. We're asking for donations for the cannabis to be brought to the Compassionate Cannabis Clinic. We're a drop-off site. There's also Fogartyville Community Center in Sarasota, and also the First Slavic Pentecostal Church in Northport. All three of us are locations for drop-offs. We need a lot of supplies. You can drop off money. You can Zelle us money. If you need a receipt, it's a 501c through the Slavic Pentecostal. We can provide you a receipt. We're in dire need of blankets, medical supplies, antibiotics, bandages, suturing kits, crash kits.
And we have good connection on the other side, Ruta, to the extent of where it's going.
So where it's going to go exactly is, so we're gathering all the items here, and we are actually going to be shipping it to Merst in New Jersey. And in New Jersey, Merst is actually a Ukrainian-owned shipping company. They have agreed to ship for free whatever, and they're shipping containers daily.
That's that MERSK that you see everywhere on the container ship. Sure. Wow, that's awesome.
So they're shipping everything for free.
Wow.
I actually have a counterpart of mine, a Lithuanian organizer in Chicago. They just did their first shipment through into Merst, and Merst is already, the boats, the tankers are out, and they're going straight to Ukraine. And in Ukraine, they have 5 sites that they're delivering to, all hospital-based sites. So they make sure that the materials are safe. It's supposedly in a safe corridor, but Merst is doing that. And shout out to Merst. They're doing a phenomenal job for their people. And
there's been a great global mobilization, doctors
support.
and
Doctors Without Borders. I have a friend of mine. She's joining. She's part of Doctors Without Borders.
I'm just in awe of all those people.
She's already headed out. So she's giving a month of her time. She's giving her time. And she's giving a month. She's going to the border of Poland and Ukraine to do triage there. And then she may even go into Ukraine. We don't know yet. And then just shout out to the people who have received an email from Compassionate Cannabis Clinic. Just yesterday, we sent out the first email, and the outpouring has been tremendous. So thank you all. And, the people of Ukraine, for them, they just see the generosity, and they see the good heartedness, and they see an outpouring of what true democracy and humanity is, where you don't know the people you're shipping these items to. You're just giving from your heart. And again, shout out to some of our patients yesterday. As soon as they got the email, my phone was ringing nonstop. In a course of a couple hours, we received $1,000. We received a knitting group who is awesome. They're from Michigan, but they vacation in Florida. They're going to be actually donating warm blankets and things that they've knitted, like mittens and things, and socks for the soldiers.
Such an honor to be one of the drop-off sites. We're right off the freeway. Everybody knows that. Exit 193. right off 75 Jacaranda exit. So, and listen, just to that extent, I'm going to go this way. That's the exact opposite of the wilting cannabis plant back there.
Yeah.
When you do what you do to help the Ukrainian causes, you water the cause, and it is. And look, the proud Lithuanian flag behind us. Yep. Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
great.
yes. Up on top of, or right in back of us.
Somewhere. We're not on the weather. Yeah.
Now you're not a weather person. Can you tell them like, which way am I going? You go to the website, www.fspchurch.com/information/Ukraine/. If you go to that site, they actually have a link to donate directly. Also, people from the cannabis clinic, patients have donated directly to me. They Zelled me and I gave them the receipt, and I'm giving the receipts of what we're purchasing. So, you know, that everything's transparent. And one woman said, she goes, Ruta, she's like, please, she goes, this is a pittance compared to what they need.
It's one of the things that you can do to just, you know, listen, we all feel for what's going on over there, and there's, you know, very little we can do from afar. Once again, I know there's going to be some protests, of course, and well, you know,
there's
listen,
protests usually on Saturdays.
What are we protesting? We're protesting more involvement, I think.
We're protesting more involvement and awareness, because, you know, like the thing is, and this is something that actually tonight, by the way, if you're in Sarasota at Selby Library at 6 p.m., Polish, he's an awesome guy. I just met him at a protest at the city hall. He's a Polish first generation. His parents ran from World War II, as did mine. He actually has a film tonight at 6 p.m. running from 6 to 7 at Selby Library about what's going on in Ukraine. It's a filmmaker's perspective. He has boots on the ground friends there. It's going to be a very interesting film. And then afterwards, we'll have a half-hour discussion about what's going on in Ukraine. So if you can make it out to Selby Library, and then Saturday at 5 p.m. at Bayfront, there will in Sarasota by Marina Jacks will be another protest. They're just trying to raise awareness. And I think, you know, a lot of people who grew up here and lived here, they've never seen war. Their parents haven't necessarily seen war. And so, you know, it's a removed country. And I think that's why they're also just trying to get sympathy, to say, look at us, and, you know, we're human, we're a democracy, we're sovereign, we were occupied. And
so there was an analogy the other day, because listen, that is the difference of this country. Yes, we were attacked on 9/11, and yes, we did lose the Twin Towers, but in general, no one can imagine, say, in the Sarasota, Venice area, going from neighborhood to neighborhood to neighborhood.
Imagine now we're talking, and imagine somebody opening the door and just either shooting us or literally just shutting us down and saying, you can't
tanks outside the office, no more medical cannabis for you.
Flying, and you hear like bombs going off as we speak. No.
So the analogy that we can have in this country is being in the midst of a mall shooting and have it go on and on and on.
You
can't get out of the mall.
Yeah, and you can't get out of the mall.
That's about as close as we can get here. But the life change for these citizens, these normal citizens of Ukraine.
That's unimaginable.
Be they 1 month old or 101 years old.
My mom, it happened to my mom. I mean, my mom always said, she's like, you know, she had a very nice life in Lithuania, a very privileged life. And then it all changes in a blink of an eye. You're running through the woods with your child, and you're lucky you got a blanket to hold, and you run.
And listen, to even say shame on the Russian, it's not even enough. There was an auditor for a kind of one of the woman that was killed by, and it was well documented by the reporter that was about 30 yards away. They're bombing civilians that are trying to flee.
Today, actually, a friend of mine, Andres, he watches like Ukrainian Russian channels, like through underground. He sent me a picture today. There was in Ukraine, there's a travel lane that's for handicapped people only, because, they have more difficulty. A Russian went with a guided missile straight and blew up the car of the handicapped people trying to get out.
Wow.
I was like, and you hear the Ukrainians, they're cursing in Russian. They're like, this is a handicap zone. Wow. Horrific what's going on.
So they're only hardening the will of the Ukrainian people.
Yeah, they're going to stay till they die. Because if you don't fight for what you believe in, if you don't fight for your country, what are they fighting for? I was speaking.
And let's hope it unites this country too. We need to unite behind freedom and liberty everybody. And it's not the free state of Florida, everybody. I'm going to lean over. I'm going to lean over again.
To the plant.
Listen, watching the Florida legislature this
not
session,
just the plant, on everything in Florida this session
is just been so painful, because I'm going to call it out for what it is, because our friends Carlos Guillermo Smith, Gary Farmer, others, on that side of the aisle have called it out. The legislature has been fulfilling Governor DeSantis's culture war agenda for the vast 80 to 85% of their time up in Tallahassee.
You're telling me, and this is the thing, here we are,
and they've gotten away with all of it too.
And what pisses me off, I'm sorry for the listeners, and I have a lot of Republican friends that listen to the show. I'm sorry, you guys. If you're not standing up and screaming right now, you have a problem. You're talking about freedom. They have just stripped every citizen in Florida freedoms, from women's rights to gay rights to children's rights to you name it.
All under the pretense of parental rights, okay, and otherwise. It's so interesting to me, and I can't wait for Tiger Bay, which we're proud members of, for the legislative update. And we'll wait to see who's there. Okay, because I'm going to get my card in early. Okay, there's almost 700,000 medical cannabis patients in the state of Florida. 700,000. We're almost there. Democrats, Republicans, old, young, everybody, and they completely ignored every single concern of that 700,000 citizen block. But not only that citizen block, literally solar power. Okay, wouldn't you like to have that on the top of your home, be able to sell your energy back? Okay, they're taking that away. Okay, well, voters' rights. Okay,
voters suppression.
The voter suppression. Okay, listen,
LGBTQ rights. And freedom of speech.
The amendment, for the 15-week abortion ban that they wanted to amend,
and not even
rape, incest,
they didn't
human trafficking for the health of the mother. Okay,
it's only for the health of the mother.
You got to jump through, but you got to jump through 2 hoops.
But it was even just for the health. It wasn't even incest. It wasn't. It was only that's outrage.
Yeah.
Only if it's endangering the mother.
And some of the statements that were made in Tallahassee about the programming of children towards a gay lifestyle.
Let's all say it now. Gay, 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 because they don't want us to say it. Gay. And if a child's gay, they're gay. And I'm sorry.
And listen, a shout out to friend Carlos Guillermo Smith and Representative Michelle Rayner, Senator Chevron Jones, who are the openly gay members, of the Florida legislature. Who knows? There may be more. They just may not be out because it's still, imagine working in that environment, Ruta, where they're literally trying to take your identity away. Carlos is so strong.
But the thing is,
shed tears on the House floor.
But all of the ones who said, you work together, you're coworkers, you break bread together, you speak together, you laugh together, and then they stab you in the back, literally.
And they don't want this personally. They don't want this personally. That's almost worse.
You know what? That's worse. That's worse, because that is hypocrisy
of somebody
and
else.
That's spineless, soulless people. Because who are you answering to? Are you answering to your own belief in your own self and your own God, or are you just going with some madman who's sitting in our Tallahassee office as governor dictating we all start wearing red cloaks? I mean, come on.
Listen, the most striking thing about our governor that personally insulted me over the past couple weeks, was when he had the news conference where the teenagers behind him were wearing masks. And he marched onto that stage like a little Napoleon and said, "What are you wearing those for? You don't need those. You could take those off." Okay. Meanwhile, scoffed, open to say, did what he did, and then marched off that stage without shaking a hand, acknowledging those kids. Yeah. What leader does that? If you're a high school kid and you're there to see the governor, you mean to tell me that you're not looking forward to shaking that governor's hand?
Just one kid's hand, and that
one kid's hand.
Yeah, one kid's
and the mom that got afterwards and said, "I wanted my child to wear that mask because I'm immunocompromised. compromise, and it's my kid, my decision.
And it's your right,
and that pompous asshole, and I'll call him that.
No, you have to,
because that's what that is. That's not politics. That's just leadership, buddy. That's leadership.
But it's lack of. He doesn't have it. It's lack of. He just proves his lack of leadership every single day.
How could you do that? How could you be that kind of person as a leader to not know that there's young people looking up to you for something, for leadership? You can't turn and shake a hand.
And look at all those children right now who are struggling with their identity right now as we speak. What message did he just send? All these kids who are already have high suicide rates, are questioning themselves, are struggling, like are getting bullied. And then you have the leader of our state standing with the bullies against these people. And it's like, what is wrong? Like, what is just—
Listen, I got to give a big shout out to Senator Lauren Book, who literally poured her heart out on the floor of the Senate to tell her personal story, of abuse, and
she walked off the floor
for a simple amendment that seemed to pass by voice vote.
Yeah. That was crazy.
That was crazy. I don't understand it. I still can't get the explanation.
Citizens of Florida, we need to look at this. Okay. All the activists out there, let's look at this. Can you believe they do a voice vote? And sometimes you listen and you're like, oh my God, that did not go their way. Yet they pass it the way they want. So they're like, oh, that's done. Next. And they don't even look at it.
I always thought that in Robert's Rules of Order, you could call for a roll call vote or a hand vote.
There should be a hand vote or a roll call vote on every single thing. To go yay, nay, and somebody's like, it's ridiculous.
Senator Farmer literally called out after that Senator Book amendment. It sounded like it went the other way.
He did. He said it sounded like it went the other way.
And Senator Book turned on her heels and marched to the top of the Senate floor. I watching it, it's such a bad soap opera up there. Are they doing the will of the people up in Tallahassee? Absolutely, positively not.
Absolutely.
And listen,
they reject what the voters say. They reject their own citizens. They don't stand for anything except one person's agenda. And you know what? Leading back still between Putin and this is the danger of getting somebody who's a dictator, who has his own agenda, and people are rallying behind him. This is what we get. You have to just start defending your democracy, because obviously they're taking away rights. They are. And this should be an upheaval in this state right now, from the women of this state, from the LGBTQ community of this state, of people who have energy consciences, and they want to actually reduce carbon emissions. All of us should be protesting. They're taking away our rights. For every cannabis patient who's suffering some debilitating condition, your rights have just been taken away, that you can't get telehealth, that they're putting law after law in to restrict more things on cannabis. Come on, we need to revolt. Truly, we do. I mean, this is ridiculous. Otherwise, we're going to get a Putin.
Well, there's not a green room that goes by that we don't talk about the need to vote. Complacency is the enemy of democracy. If you don't care, you don't vote. Tell us about the results of the special election here in Sarasota County, Ruta.
Kudos to Kendra Muntz and Rosalie Danbury for spearheading a huge vote. The county commissioners, the people voted 2 years ago for single member districts in Florida, in Sarasota County. The commissioners didn't like it because it gives the opportunity for there hasn't been a Democrat in the county commission for over 50 years. They like it that way. So when they have single member districts, they actually now may lose a seat. And I'm hoping now 2 or 3, because after this Rumble thing, I think Northport has a lot of Ukrainians in there, a lot of Russians and Eastern European. Those people are not going to be voting for the people who voted to put money in
single district allows you to focus more on a specific area.
So we did win that. I think it shocked the county commission that we actually won it now twice. And Commissioner Mayo made the insulting comment 2 years ago after the people voted on it and voted for single member districts, Mayo said, oh, the people of Sarasota didn't understand what they were reading. Like we all had like we're all clueless or illiterate. He's like, yeah, they really didn't know what they were writing. That's why they went
it motivated people to vote. It was a
again,
special election with only two things
in the millage for the school board. So yay to
pass,
that.
which is good because they don't always pass either in this day and age.
So thank goodness that they're supporting the schools and single member districts went through. But it's so critical to vote. And honestly,
well, listen, it's a shout out to the teachers. If you talk about people that did go to Tallahassee, Ruta, if you watched the session, teachers went to Tallahassee. Yeah, okay, believe me when I tell you, to speak out against all of this. They don't need these rules. They know common sense,
and they know their
there's guidelines already.
They know their children, and the thing is, like now, are you going to?
They do know their children. They love their students.
They love their students. Oh my God, are you kidding? These people know when their students are hungry. They know when
they feel like their hands are tied now because there's certain things that
teachers go above and beyond any protocol of any other profession that I know of that cares so much. I mean, you don't see presidents of companies knowing that their employee may be homeless. Like they just don't know. The teachers do know their students.
I had 400 kids. I knew exactly every single one of those kids.
You know what they had for breakfast, man. You know who was oatmeal versus popcorn.
Don, our producer, he was a teacher, and he just said, I don't know if you guys heard, he had 400 students. He knew every single thing about each kid as a teacher.
And Donna's son, who's
feeling good.
And Donna's son, who's openly gay,
educator. He's a principal of a school.
Right.
And like for him, like this just binds people's hands.
It's stupid. It's stupid.
These people know these students and they care about these kids.
It's going after a problem that doesn't exist, everybody, because once again of the agenda of somebody who's appealing to a small base of people. And let me tell you, everybody, it's time to react. It's time to register, to get ready to vote, to make sure you know how to vote. Don't let them take away your mail-in vote. We'll be all over this as we go forward.
We will, but the thing is, like, I just say
it's the only way to change things in Florida, Ruta. It's the only way. I can't get overly frustrated.
But I get frustrated because the thing is, like, okay, you see these things happening, and even on Facebook, I'll see these people posting opposing views to what just happened, the votes. And I know some of them, I know this is like an oxymoron, but I had friends who were like Republican gay people, and it's an oxymoron. And you may ask, how is a gay person Republican? But there are some, and it's like, how can you still vote for people in your party when they just stripped you of your rights, yet they still will mark that R? And I'm like, why you're stabbing yourself in the foot? And it's
listen, they somehow have themselves convinced that when they do these things, they're protecting something or somebody or whatever. But listen, my point is this, and I want to make a specific call out to Representative Drake. Okay. So when Andrew Learned finally got around to being able to present our 5 issues and amendments, none of our bills that had anything to do with medical cannabis, anybody ever got a committee assignment in session, which meant that Dr. Berry couldn't go up to Tallahassee to get his 30 seconds or whatever time they were going to give me to speak for my patients in any of these bills. But when Representative Learned finally at 10:30 on Tuesday night, they got around to trying to amend the appropriations bill for the DOH. 5 or 6 amendments that Representative Learned presented. All were voice voted down. But the insulting thing, Representative Drake, was after the second amendment, you said, well, this one is an unfriendly amendment. As you know, they're so collegial up there. So collegial. An unfriendly amendment from a friendly member is exactly what they said. And when he said that each of the next 5 amendments will be unfriendly as well. You know what that included? That included a veterans card for free. That also included state card for those that come down from the north to go to Disney World or other vacation in Florida. You can get a 2-week card, hang on, for $50. You don't think that's going to generate revenue for the state? All of them, okay? But the the telehealth didn't even get a sniff of a debate. So that's what they think of us, everybody, us 700,000 and more coming, okay? members of the medical cannabis program. But the citizens of Florida, wake up. Wake up. They're not working on our agenda. They've got their own.
They do. And I just want to give a quick shout out before I forget. I was at the city commissioner meeting and I actually spoke at it. I want to shout out to Hagen Brody for introducing stopping being sister cities with Vladimir, Russia as a sister city. They have suspended it indefinitely. It was a very contested, surprisingly contested by the city commissioners. I found it a little bit saddening and a little bit disheartening that our county commissioners were even debating this, our city commissioners, excuse me. But they did vote to suspend it. And thank you to the Ukrainian community for coming out and voicing their opinions. Again, today at Selby Library, 6 o'clock. To give, please, if you want to do a monetary donation, please look at the website at fspchurch.com/information/Ukraine. Please, if you have anything you can donate, a bottle of Aleve, a bottle of Tylenol, all of this is so needed. You can drop it off here at our clinic at 425 Commercial Court, Suite C. We're packing up donations daily, so please come drop them off. No donation is too small. Trust me, it'll change a life or save a life. Slava Ukraini, and see you guys next week
In the green room.
in the green room.
Stay